Good afternoon, my name is Chef Jason Millette. We're here at Liaison College in Hamilton. Today I'm just going to do a few recipes. I'm going to start off with a butternut squash soup. It's a beautiful soup. It has great texture, great flavor, and it has a great color. Okay? Most puree soups are very easy to create and to cook and to prepare. Soups are an excellent starter to a meal. So I'm going to start off just by showing you the ingredients. I've got some butternut squash that I've diced, medium to large dice. If you dice them too small, you lose too many nutrients and you lose too much flavor from the butternut. Okay? You can roast this for sure as well, and then scrape out all the ingredients and then make that into butternut squash soup. That's generally how I make it. Okay? But for today, seeing as how baking the butternut squash will take a long time, I'm just going to saute it or braise it. Okay? I've got a little bit of shallot and I've got just a little bit of garlic. I'm using those two ingredients as a flavor builder. Okay? You will not taste them in the soup, but they will be there. I also have a little bit of nutmeg, just a tiny little bit. Once again, nutmeg is strong. You don't want to overpower your main ingredient, which is butternut squash. Okay? And I'm also going to use just a little bit of curry. Butternut squash soup is good enough by itself, but a little curry adds a little bit more color, okay, as well as adds a little bit more of a punch or a kick to the dish, okay. Don't overdo curry and try and keep it away from you, okay. Curry stains fairly easily. I'm going to garnish it with just some oven roasted seeds from the plant itself, and then just a little bit of chives and some sour cream. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the stove. I'm going to turn on my saucepan, turn on the fire for my saucepan. You should generally always get your equipment, your cooking utensils hot before you actually add any ingredients to it. Okay, so I'm just going to give it 5 or 10 seconds there to heat up. And I'm just using oil. You can use butter. It's just a vegetable oil, I do believe. Canola oil is fine. You can go with olive oil, it's healthier, but olive oil has a bit of a taste to it. I like to keep my oils very neutral so it doesn't mask the flavor of the butternut squash or anything else. Okay? If it was a Mediterranean soup, then most definitely I would use olive oil. Okay? So my pan is nice and hot. I'm going to add just a little bit of oil. Okay? And I'm going to turn down the heat. And I'm going to sweat my onions and my garlic. Sweating means a low temperature with no browning, okay? If you like to sweat vegetables a lot, salt helps to sweat. It brings out the moisture. As long as there's moisture in the pan, the ingredients will not brown, okay? So I have the ingredients in there, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper, okay? And just mix it around. Don't overdo it. Okay, so I have a nice color here, just lightly sweated. For the onions, the onions should be transparent or slightly transparent, okay? And they are properly sweated. Next I have my butternut squash. Just gonna put that into the pot, and I'm gonna cook it in the pot for maybe a minute or two. Just get all the squash covered with a little bit of fat and some flavor, okay? But just a gentle stir, okay? And let it sit. If you stir things too much, it takes longer to cook them, okay? So I'm gonna let that sit there for a minute or two, give it another stir, okay? Okay. So after about 2 minutes in the saucepan, getting up to temperature, what you're going to do is you're going to add a liquid. Now, I'm going to use just water, okay? Because it's a soup and it's a vegetable, it's good to go with vegetable stock. Try and stay away from chicken stock or beef stock if it's a vegetable dish, okay? Try and keep it within line of the dish. As well, if you are a vegetarian or you have vegetarian guests, stick with water or a nice vegetable stock. You can use a vegetable stock for everything if you wish, okay? You just have to increase the flavor by adding different vegetables other than carrots, celery, and onions, okay? So, but try to avoid anything green, okay? After I've sweated or lightly sauteed this for about a minute or two, I'm going to add enough liquid to cover by half. Okay, when I add my liquid, I just give it a stir and kind of deglaze any kind of flavoring that might be at the bottom of the pan. Because we sweated, there shouldn't be any browning or anything, okay? But it's a good practice to do that anyways. So I've got the butternut squash covered by half, okay? So half of it is out of the water, the other half is submerged in the water. I'm going to cook that till it's past al dente. Al dente means firm to the bite, or a nice crisp, not too crisp, but a good texture when you eat your vegetables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook this past al dente, so it's much easier to puree, okay? And I'll have a better consistency for my soup. Okay, so after I've sauteed that and I've brought it up to a boil, I'm going to bring it down to a low simmer and let it cook. Okay, and once the butternut squash or whatever vegetable you're using has reached its desired degree of tenderness, you can take it over somewhere and you can puree it. Okay, and once you puree it, you strain it, and that'll correct any sort of improper texture. Okay, I find straining just about every sauce and a lot of soups is a good idea. Okay, some soups definitely don't strain. Okay, and some sauces don't strain. Okay. Okay, so through the magic of TV, I'm going to show you a presented butternut squash soup. Okay, the proper consistency, and with a nice garnish. And because I don't have time to finish it here, okay, so what I've done is I have made some butternut squash soup. Okay, it has a good texture, has a good color. There are no large chunks, okay, because I have strained it. If I used fresh herbs, let's say thyme or even some dry herbs in here, I can strain it and the flavor of the herbs will still be there, but the herbs themselves will not, okay? So I like to keep my food nice and clean. Unfortunately, I have black pepper here. I don't have any white pepper. If I had white pepper, I would probably have used white pepper. I think most chefs prefer black pepper though. It has a better taste and it's not as strong. Okay, so the texture is nice. See how it coats the back of the spatula there? And if I bring my finger down, it should stay separate. Okay, that way I know I have a good consistency for my soup. It's not the best way, but it is definitely a quick way to check and see if I have a good consistency. Okay? Another thing you do before serving is you should always try your food. Okay? And I'm going to use the two soup method. One spoon into the other spoon. And has really good consistency. And has a good flavor. Okay? But you could use maybe just a tiny little bit more salt. So I just mix some salt in there and stir it around. Okay, I'm just going to grab my plate. Here's my bowl that I'm going to be using for the soup. Standard portion sizes are 6 to 8 ounces for an appetizer and 8 to 12 ounces for, well, a larger bowl, an entree sort of, but soup is very rarely an entree, okay? I'll just put that there. A ladle, standard size ladle, 6 ounces, okay? So if I fill this ladle up, I already know that I have the minimal portion size, okay? I put it in very gently. I don't want my plate to get dirty, okay? So this is a standard, this is gonna be a 12-ounce bowl of soup, only because trying to show off the color and the texture. It's much easier for a larger quantity. Okay, so what I do after I pour it in, I just give it a nice little shake. Okay, don't get the sides of the bowl too dirty. And what that does is it releases the butternut squash. It makes it settle a little bit better, so you don't have all the chunkiness up on top. Okay, as well, I'm just going to use a couple little bit of chives here. So I'll grab my knife. Okay, and I'm just going to cut some chives for green. Green is a very important color in cooking. Okay, it brings things to life. Yellow and green, we know, is a good combination match. Okay, so it should be fine. So what I'm going to do is my other garnish for this is sour cream. So I'm just going to put a little bit of sour cream on top. For restaurants, you don't want to increase your food costs too much. Okay, so I'm just going to dab it, a little bit of sour cream, a few chives around the outside of it, and just a couple of seeds. Okay, just spread around. Keep it simple, keep it clean, and keep the flavors not subtle. You want to taste the main ingredient, you want to taste everything, but make sure it's properly seasoned. With improper seasoning, the food doesn't taste right, and you don't enjoy it as much. Okay, seasoning doesn't mean salt. Seasoning means enhancing the natural flavor using many different ingredients. White wine, lemon juice, paprika, cayenne, even though some of those are spices, we use them as seasonings. Okay, well, that's it for today for butternut squash soup. Thank you very much, and hopefully see you around. Thank you.